What's up guys, Dan Watson. I've got the Fuji X-T2 and I also picked up a 50mm f2, and this is a brand new one that just came out for Fuji, and I am looking forward to this one because if you guys saw my X-T2 review, it was actually my best camera of 2016. It was just a fun camera to shoot with. It had the quality I needed, it had a good autofocus system, dual color, so it was just an overall awesome camera. It made shooting fun. It was interesting, it was different, and everything that I loved about it. The image quality in these Fujis is great. I mean, straight out of the camera. This is one of the few cameras that I will take just a nice JPEG, and it looks great straight out of the camera with all that Fuji color, and it is awesome. So, Fuji X-T20. This is kind of like the baby X-T2 in many ways, but it's really a different camera, and I would say that more importantly, it's going to be geared towards photography. It's going to shoot unbelievable video. It's very similar to the X-T2 in that regard, but there will be some differences, and I will say if you're going to be shooting video a lot, you might want to lean towards something like a Sony a6300. But for those of you who are primarily shooting photos and then the occasional video, this might be an awesome camera for you. Now, here are some of the key differences as we open this up. Now, I did get it with the basic kit lens. So this is a 16, I believe it's a 16 to 55, 16 to 50 millimeter, and this is the f3.5 to 5.6. Not the best quality lens in the world. It's very plasticky. However, this is going to be similar to what the kit lenses are on other cameras. However, one of the awesome things about Fuji is for $300 more than this kit, you can upgrade to the f2.8 to f4, and that is an awesome lens. That's the lens that I use the most with the Fuji X-T2. I would, if I were you, get that kit. I'm not getting that kit because I'm going to be using mostly prime lenses with it. However, if you did want a zoom lens, that is going to be well worth it. And I will say that that's one of the biggest advantages for me over the 6300 from Sony, is that for a couple $100 more, you can get it in a kit with a really, really good quality lens, whereas Sony, the lens you get with it is just going to be a crappy zoom lens like this. And if you want to upgrade, you're looking at like $600, and that's the 18 to 105 millimeter f4. It's a constant f4, so you're still not getting that kind of wider aperture, at least on the wide angle. And so the Fuji kind of has an advantage on that one. And still, that lens is $600, and really the quality of it is not as good. If you want good quality Sony glass, you're going to step up to the 16 to 70 millimeter lens, and that is a constant f4 as well, has stabilization, but you're looking at about $1,000 for that thing. So if you want a good lens with the Sony, you're really zoom lens, you're looking at $1,000, and that's still an f4 zoom. You're still not getting anything f2.8. Okay, so this, I'm kind of torn. I would lean towards saying I don't like these. These chargers right here have this long power cable to them. I kind of like just being able to plug it into the wall and travel light. That's kind of my preference. Traditional Fuji film battery that's in most of their cameras right here. Now let's take a look at the camera itself. It is a lot lighter than I expected. It feels a bit more plasticky. It is not as big and bulky. The grip is pretty much non-existent, so it's kind of an interesting body on here. Now let me go ahead and use this lens. Plastic mount, really? Come on. I really hope for something better than that, even from this kind of kit lens. So honestly, this is a really cheap kit lens. You might want to upgrade that. Here are a couple differences with this one. So on this camera, we do not have dual SD card slots. We have one card slot, and it's going to be accessible through this door right here. It's also not weather sealed, which you are getting from that. You are getting a smaller viewfinder, and you are getting pretty much the same ports on this one. The microphone in, it does have it. It's 2.5 millimeters, so you will need a converter cable to go from that and your normal microphones, but at least we have it. Some of the other cameras don't give us mic ports, and I love using them because I want to have either lab mics like this or be able to use just a better shotgun style mount on the top of this thing. So that's the biggest difference. We do have some differences on the dials as well. That's kind of, you basically have less options on here. However, one of the big features that we do have is a touchscreen. So this is going to have a touchscreen on it. Also, the articulation looks very similar, except if you remember on the X-T2, definitely check out my full review of that one, okay? I'm going to put a link, I think it's up there, and you can check that out. Now, the Fuji X-T2 Also, not only could you go this way and down, You could also go out a little bit to the side, and you do not have that ability on this one. Here's the thing that I don't like on these. If you have a tripod mount that sticks out at all, it's almost impossible to get this to face down at all. It's really easy to get it to face up, but you just don't get a lot of movement down. And so that's kind of the downside to these type of mechanisms. Also, there's obviously no kind of selfie mode that you're going to get out of this, but the Fuji is going to be pretty traditional styling. Now, if you like to shoot manual or aperture priority, it's a really, really nice setup. You get a front dial, back dial, so pretty much everything you need on there. On the top, you got a mode dial, and you basically can alter your aperture, ISO, your exposure compensation. I like having an exposure compensation dial when I'm shooting aperture priority. It's really, really nice to have that right on the top of that. So if that's how you like to shoot, this is going to be a great camera for you. Now, some of the other features that it does not have the ability to fine-tune some of the autofocus settings, so you're kind of getting whatever the defaults are and some basic tuning options, but nothing advanced from that one. Also, the shutter speed on this is going to be limited to a 4,000th of a second versus an 8,000th of a second on that one. Not a problem for most people, but if you're shooting with some very wide aperture primes, this is only an f2, but if you're shooting with some f1.4s and stuff like that, sometimes in daylight, it can be hard to shoot with an 8,000th of a second. So kind of take it and leave it on that one. Now, the biggest differences are going to be on the video side. On the video side, on the X-T2, we had a full sensor readout with a slight crop. This does not have that. It still shoots 4K, but it's going to use some line skipping for that in 1080p. So potentially we're going to be seeing a little bit lower quality 4K footage and 1080p video footage from this than we would on the other ones. Now, I'm still predicting that this is going to be a very, very good performing video camera, especially for the average user. Taking this to Disney World, I'm going to go to a car show, shoot some $1 million cars with this, so stay tuned for the full review, and there'll be some awesome images that we're getting from that one. So overall for that, that's going to be great. Now, there are some limitations, and a lot of them are on the video side, so let's talk about that. One of the great things about the Fuji X-T2, depending on how you liked it, is you had the option of expanding some of your settings with the battery grip. The battery grip gave you a headphone output, increase your video recording times, double batteries, faster shooting. That kind of stuff is now gone. So with that battery grip, we got up to 11 frames per second. I believe the default on this one is going to be 8. It's the same as the Fuji X-T2, except that with the battery grip on that camera, we got a little bit faster shooting. Also, the video recording limits on this, 10 minutes for 4K, 15 minutes for 1080p. I would say that most people who are looking at this camera won't care about that, but that's really unfortunate, and this is, again, another reason if you're shooting video, you might want to lean towards the A6300. That does have a 30-minute recording time. I personally had some overheating stuff on that one at about 20-25 minutes, but either way, that's about double what I am going to be getting on this one, and it's going to auto shut off at 10 minutes. So the A6300 and A6500 might be a better option if you're shooting video on that one. So, but for an average shooting camera, this is going to be really exciting. Again, taking this to a car show, some awesome $1 million cars. Might take us for a trip to Disney World. That's really what this camera is meant for, and I think it's going to be great at that. So now I do want to open up this lens right here because this is a brand new lens that Fuji introduced, and it's a very good option for this one. Now, 50 millimeters with a crop, you're looking at about 75 millimeters, so this is going to be what I would call a good portrait lens. They also have a wider version. This one, I believe it's 35 millimeters, but this is not a super cheap lens. It's right around $500, so I really kind of wanted to look at the build quality. This is super small. This is about the size of Canon's, well, this is their 85, I don't know where their 50 millimeter is, but yeah, that's about the size of that. Here's another comparison right here. This is a Sony 35, so it's actually a little bit longer than the Sony 35. It does feel a little bit better, and I'm guessing we have metal. Okay, thank God we have metal. And so overall, it looks like a little bit nicer of a lens option here. It's about the same as the 16 to 50 millimeters, so not a lot of girth on that one, and you're going to get a really nice lens. So we're going to be taking this out too and seeing the quality on that, but I'm expecting some awesome things. Stay tuned for the full review. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to be posting the pictures that I'm taking on those, so if you want to get kind of a first-hand look and ask me some questions before I get the full review out, that's where you're going to want to do it. So stay tuned for that. A lot more to come.